We are continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, the halachot of Kriyat Sefer Torah. We are starting Siman Kuf Membet of the halachot of mistakes that happen in reading of the Torah. What happens if a person, while reading the Torah, made a mistake? This is in Daf Chaf Dalet Amud Bet of the Regal Prince of Mishna Berura. And today's limud is dedicated to Refuah Shelma, Rachel Simcha Bat Nahid, full recovery Bezrat Hashem. Amen. So writes Maran, and this is a din that comes from the Rambam in Chot Tfilah. Din mi shekara v'ta'av makom she'en sham mi sheyodea likrot b'diuk. What do you do when you make a mistake? What do you do when you're in a place that nobody really knows how to read the Torah properly? And writes Maran, kara v'ta'av, if you read and you made a mistake, afilu bediktuk ot achat, even if in one detail of one letter you made a mistake, machzirin oto. You make him go back and read it again. Says the Ramah, v'chen din hachazar hakoren. Same halacha is not just for a person that got the aliyah and he's reading his own aliyah, but even if the shaliach tzibur, the baal koreh, makes a mistake, same halacha is there. V'davka b'shinui shemishtane al yedei ze ha'inyan. So Ramah says a very important point, that this that we make him go back is only on details that change the meaning of the pasuk. And you have a lot of those in simple reads of the psukim. La metame versus la mitame. Both of them are within 3 psukim. Metame means something that inflicts tum'ah. Mitame means something that becomes tameh. Completely different. It changes the language and the meaning of the pasuk. Rachel bito ba'a imason or ba'a imason. That is not even a different read, it's just a different stress. If it's mileel or milera, if the stress is in the first syllable or second syllable. So ba'a means she already came. Ba'a means she will come, she is coming. Upcoming Megillat Esther right now that we have, right? If you say Risefat Bahat Vashesh Vedar V'Sucharit, Risefat means the floor. Many Baalei Koreh by mistake say Rispat. Rispa means a hot coal, completely changing the meaning, right? V'Hashtia Kadat En Ones. When you say En Ones means there was no one going around forcing people to drink, but many people say an onus, completely different meaning. It means there was no rule that you would have to drink. So you see differences of reading, even if it's in just the stressing and the ta'amim, the tropes, you could make all the difference, of course, in reading, let's say, Isha versus Isha. Isha means a woman, Isha means her husband. And this is something that many make a mistake, right? And so on and so forth. So, says the Ramah, those are in areas, by the way, this is time to put in parentheses, that if you're a Baal Koreh, you better prepare properly. You better prepare, and learn, first of all, the rules, the basic rules of grammar, and also prepare the reading of the Chumash a number of times until you know and you're confident that you're going to do a proper job reading the Torah. Now, Ramah says basically that the te'uyot, the mistakes that we make him go back and read, is only those that are make a difference in the meaning of the pasuk, to which the Mishnah writes, afilu b'diktuk od echad. If you added a letter, if you dropped a letter, we're going to discuss this. We make you go back and read again. That you should read it properly now. Even if you have gone through a number of psukim and someone notes that you made a mistake few psukim before, if you've even finished the parasha, you go back and read from the place that you made a mistake. Even if you finish the parasha and you said bracha achrona, still have to go back to that pasuk for the next person that gets the aliyah, and you start from that pasuk and on, the koreh mimenu ulhalan, at sof parasha, until the end of the parasha, and then another 3 psukim afterwards from the future, from the upcoming parasha. Now, what's the proper hanhaga, proper conduct when you need to make somebody go back? So the best way to do it is to have someone that's sharp and baki in Kriyat Torah and in Diktuk, that he should stand next to Baal Koreh and he will immediately tell him if he makes a mistake, instead of having a balagan in the shul, Ze Koreh Mikan, Ze Koreh Mikan. One person is yelling from this corner, the other one is yelling from that corner. Aside from the fact that's pretty embarrassing, it's also not a proper decorum of a Bet Knesset. And a person that is busy with Kriyat Shema, if you are reading Shema, and you are a world class Baal Koreh, so you know the whole thing by heart, and he makes a mistake. The Baal Koreh that's up there makes a mistake, and nobody caught the mistake. No one caught the mistake. You know that he just made a mistake. Can you stop in the middle of your Kriyat Shema to fix him? Says Rab Chaim Palaji, you should not pause by talking, but you could make a noise of Ge'ara. You could go up there, maybe show them, but he says you should not be mafsik b'dibur. Again, that's of course given that you could accomplish that without actually showing them. But if not, if you have to get up there and show them and make them go back to the correct reading, of course that's what we should be doing. And the Sfaradim who hear, for instance, the Kriyat Torah from Ashkenazim, right? So Ashkenazim don't have a masoret on many of the things that the Shulchan Aruch says you should be differentiating between. They don't have necessarily a masoret for differentiation between chaf and het, taf and tet, right? Tzadi, they say it the way they say it, right? Which is again questionable. And the vav, the pronunciation of vav is different than the Sfaradim, and so on and so forth. Again, these are from the time of the Ibn Ezra and others. Even the Gedolei Rishonim write about Diktuk. So what do you do when you're listening to Kriyat Sefer Torah from a different Havara? So Chavadia writes that as long as you understand what's being said, sometimes you could be going to a Hasidic community, and if you're not used to it, you may not even understand what you're hearing. So that's a different story. But if you understand what you're hearing, you don't have to be really careful about different pronunciations between Ashkenazim and Sfaradim. Both are good. He says, when it comes to Parashat Zachor, you should be more careful to hear it from a proficient Baal Koreh who's Baki and pronounces things properly. Havara Sfaradid, that's the best. Parashat Para as well, because according to Maran Shulchan Aruch, Para also is the Oraita. So for Parashat Zachor and Parashat Para, you should make sure to read from a Sfaradi Sefer Torah with a Baal Koreh that pronounces things properly. But the rest of the year is not such a big deal. You could hear it from a Baal Koreh who is Ashkenaz, and that is completely fine. Same malacha is passed by Chacham ben Rabbi Shaul, Rabbi Chaliyahu, Rabbi Moshe Levi, many others as well. Now, this is a general question. The general question of whether or not the Ashkenazim should be adopting the Sephardi Havara. It's famously known that Rabbi Natan Adler, they used to call him Hanesher Agador. Adler means Nesher, it's an eagle. He was the Rebbe of Khatam Sofer. He believed very strongly that the Havara Sfaradid is the correct one. He hired himself a Melamed, taught him all the Havara Sfaradid, and ever since then, in his Bet Midrash, he davened by the Amud. He was the Shach Tzibur for Arvit, Mincha, Shaharit, all the Tfilot. He didn't let anybody else be the Shach Tzibur. Khatam Sofer did not really adopt this minhag, but that was the Shita of the Rebbe, Reb Natan Adler, and he was not alone. The Ridbaz in his Teshuvot in Siman Chavzayin says the same thing. the Sridei Esh, Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, in his Tshuvot Chelek Bet Siman Hey, he says the same thing. And many more. Rab Henken in the United States, who was considered, Rab Moshe Feinstein used to consider him as the Gadol Ador. He used to go and get a bracha from him every Yom Kippur. He writes in his Sefer Tshuvot Ivra, I think it's Chelek Bet, he writes that every Ashkenazi cheder should really be hiring a Sephardi Melamed to teach them Havara Sfaradit because of a simple cheshbon. He writes that we know that there is a Masorah, a tradition of how to pronounce chet different than chaf, and all the things that we mentioned. So he says, well, Ashkenazim lost the Masorah. They have no Masorah. Sfaradim at least have a Masorah. So he says, no Masorah, some Masorah, you should follow the Masorah of those who feel they have it right. And therefore he says that's the right conduct to do. Others disagree with that very strongly. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Chazon Ish, others, Rabbi Yashiv. And they believe that every kihila should really stick to their minhagim when it comes to these things. But nevertheless, again, when it comes to zachor and para, you should be more careful. But other than that, it's fine. That's not considered part of this diktuk that a Baal Koreh has to be reading. You could listen from a Baal Koreh that is not necessarily aligned with your minhagim, as long as you understand what is being said. Now, says the Mishnah Berura, but if you made a mistake, the Rama says, that you made a mistake that doesn't change the meaning. It's just you made an error in the drops of the Chumash in a way that doesn't make a difference in the meaning. Or אם חיסר או הוסיף איזה אות במקום שאין העניין משתנה על ידי זה, כגון שקרא לאהרון, הרון, בפתח, right? בלא א', או למצרים, למצרים, מצריים, וכדומה, ולקת נגינה וניגוד, and same, you kept the same things. Other than that, still would be not a problem. But the Evet and Machzirinoto says the Rama aval goarim bo, but you yell at him. You say, why are you not prepared properly? You should be doing much better than this. Now, this by itself of saying Haron instead of Aaron, that you actually dropped an aleph, the Kaf HaChaim is very strong about it. He does not agree with the psak of the Mishnah Berura here. Says you for sure make him go back and read it again, even if the inyan doesn't change, the meaning doesn't change, but only ta'amim or nikud, that also the Kaf HaChaim agrees that you don't have to make him go back, and that's fine. But the Evet, when he happened, of course you go to him afterwards and say, look, you should be really preparing a little bit more, but you don't have to publicly make him go back to the read that he made a mistake in. Says the Mishnah Berura, it doesn't make a difference who made the mistake. If the Baal Koreh made the mistake, who's a professional, or even if one of the Balabatim who got the Aliyah and he read his own Aliyah, doesn't make a difference. In both cases, it will be the same halacha in regards to this. That the Kaf HaChaim writes that you should not go back to, if it's just a minor mistake that doesn't change the meaning, you should not go back if you have to say Hashem's name. It's an important prat to keep in mind that sometimes people make minor things and they go back to fix it, and there's a Yud Kei Vav Kei in between, and that's something to be mindful as well, because that would be kind of like mentioning Hashem's name in vain for no good reason. So you should go back to even if you have to go back, you go back to the place that does not necessarily involve having to mention HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name if it's not a necessity. Says the Mishnah Berura, he comments on the words of the Rama over here. Aval go'arin bo, this that you have to chastise him. V'katav b'tshuvat Ma'ara means hachazal tzarich lachzor mitchilat hasidra shteheh shkura befiv kol hadiktukim. He writes, the Ma'ara means that if you're the Chazal, if you're the Baal Koreh, it's on you to make sure to prepare it properly, that you know it fluently with all of the details and the diktukim, milera, mileel, nekudot, all those things, and not to make any of these basic mistakes. And you should read it carefully, slowly, ve'ikra b'matun, ve'lo b'mihirut, not too fast, in order to be able to focus on saying the words properly. And according to Kaf HaChaim, he should be preparing the nekudot and ta'amim as well, the drops as well, which nowadays is very hard for some people, so they have someone give them signs with their hands. But be that as it may, you should be prepared to deliver a proper Kriyat Torah as the Chazan. Now, before you start the Kriyat Torah, even Kaf HaChaim writes, you should say the pasuk of Vehi Noam. You should say pasuk Vehi Noam, and when you say Ma'aseh Yadenu Koronanu, Ma'aseh Yadenu Koronehu, you should think that Kadosh Baruch Hu should allow you, help you to read the Torah properly, with all the secrets of the Torah included, and so on, all the layers of depth that we may not be aware of. All of them should be read properly and indicated properly, that if there is any ta'ut, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should fix it for you, and so on and so forth. It's a beautiful thing. Even if you're reading the Torah, you need siyata d'shmaya, so you say a little tefillah beforehand, before you start the reading of the Torah, realizing that the Torah has so many layers of depth that even a small mistake could change things from its reality, so therefore you want to be more mindful and careful about that, which brings us really to the end of this seif. Bezrat Hashem will continue the next seif in the days to come.